So today I'm shooting my first SOS moment video. This is just something that will give you a little reminder of something maybe you haven't thought of in a while, or something new to try, or maybe you're just stuck for inspiration and just need something to kind of get your memory going again. So this first tip that I want to show you is tone on tone, using the exact same color on top of the exact same color with the same sentiment, and it really gives a great classy look that's very simple. So to kind of show you how I did this, you can see my two examples. My first is using the Tim Holtz Distress ink with Fired Brick, and my second example is using the Dusty Concord Distress ink by Tim Holtz. So let me show you how I did this. I'm working on top of a Ranger mat today. Just in case any of my ink gets anywhere, this mat completely wipes off. So I'm going to move these out of the way for a minute. And my card base is just a piece of white cardstock, a card base that I folded in half and trimmed down to 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And to show you how I made the first layer, I'm going to take a Faded Jeans Distress ink, and I'm going to use this little Ink Essentials tool, and it's got Velcro on top of it, and I'm going to add this little pad on top of it that I use just for when I use the Faded Jeans. I have the same when I do the other colors. For example, here's my Fired Brick color. So I always keep the same ink pad for the same color, the same pad for the same ink pad color. So here we go. So to do this, it might take a little bit of practice, but you'll ink up your pad, and you're going to want to start off of your mat just a little bit so that you don't get any harsh lines. And I'm just going to start rubbing slowly, kind of leaning towards the tip. And how much ink you put on will determine how dark your surface is going to be. Spinning my mat around as I go, working from the outside into the center. And it's going to take a minute to do this, and also to get a good even layer. So adding more ink, working towards the center. And like I said, this is going to take a little bit of practice to get a nice even tone. And as it starts to become evener, then I kind of come up just against the sides just a little bit to give it a little bit of a border. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Darken up just this spot just a little bit. So when you've got that piece finished, you'll want to do another one. Well, this piece, by the way, measures 4 by 4. I'm going to set that aside for just a second here. Then you'll need another little white piece that measures 3 by 3. And I've gone ahead and done the same thing with another piece of blue. And this piece measures 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, and it's going to go on top of here. So we've started our tone on tone. This is going to layer, right? So next, I grabbed a stamp from this Clear Positional Stamps by Hero Arts in Basic Gray, and it's called Luscious Pattern Flowers, and it comes from the Hello Luscious collection. This is what it looks like. And I grabbed this one right here. And that's going to be my image for today. And I'm going to stamp that directly onto my little blue piece. We'll go ahead and ink that up. And I'm just going to center it. A little bit of pressure to make sure everything hits the paper. Don't worry too much if this isn't perfect as we're going tone on tone. A little bit of fading with the Distress ink looks beautiful. I like it. And then next, I'm going to take a mini mister, and it has a little bit of water in it. This is also a Ranger tool, but you could use whatever spray. It's just water that you want. And I'm going to give it a little spray because, as we know, the Distress ink is reactive with water. So as you'll see, the middle part kind of darkens a little bit. My paper's going to puff up just a hair, but that's okay. I'm going to grab a heat tool and just give this a little bit of heat. I love how the ink just kind of reacts. and gives such a neat effect. It'll take just a second for this to dry. And while that's drying, be thinking about some fun embellishments we could do with this card. You'll notice on my other two, while this is going, on this first one I used some twisted cording, and I used some fun scissors to give a little bit of a scalloped, or not scalloped, a pinking shears look on the edge here. And then on this one I used some gems around the outside, which I thought looked really cute, and I popped up the sentiment. Okay, so now as you can see, this started to fade, and that's what happens when it reacts with water, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do. What we've done here is actually create a shadow. Okay, put that over here. Okay, so now that we have this ready to go, we're going to take our ink again and our same image again, and we're going to re-ink it up. And we're going to stamp it again. And now that we've got our shadow, watch how cool this is going to look. Just a little bit to the side, and press, and lift it up. And if you can see that, we created a cute little shadow. And I love how the ink, just where it was reacted with the water, kind of just made some markings on my page. I think it looks really cool. So now we can go ahead and add that to our card. First to our little white base here. And I'm just going to use my HEG gun tape. My last video I did leave a link as to where I get my tape from, if you were curious, because I buy it in bulk because I just think it's too expensive in the stores. Right, let's go ahead and line this up. There we go. And you'll notice you're going to get ink all over your hands, but I found with just a little bit of liquid dish soap and like a green kitchen scrubber, it just rubs right off in just a couple of seconds. It's really fast. So the ink does wash off, but be prepared to scrub just a little bit on the base of your fingers where it's blue or whatever color. So let's finish layering our card. And do the same thing, add a little ATG gun tape on the back of our blue piece that we already created. Line that up, and then this one's going to go into the center. And I'm going to cover my ink before I forget. One day I forgot to, completely dried everything out, which was not fun. Okay, I'll center my image. Oh, you know what? Shoot, I was going to add some ribbon to this. You know what? I'm still going to. I have an extra piece of blue here. I just wanted to show you something different that you can do. So learn from my mistake and don't stick your piece down before you stick your embellishment on. But as I showed you on these other two cards, we did the little twisted cording, and on this one we did the little gems. And so on this one I wanted to add a little piece of this kind of rickrack looking ribbon. And it's just a hair darker, but I love how it pulls the tones out. So I'm going to attach this piece on so I kind of know where I want my ribbon to go. And then we'll add on our ribbon. So remember, do better than me when you're going to add an embellishment. Okay, so if I want this piece to go right about here, I'll flip it back and grab some tape. Always want to use tape on the back of your ribbon because then your ATG gun will just slide right over it. So there's that piece. And now we can attach it on top of our other piece because Kathy's being silly today. But the idea is to work on a new technique today, so we're going to cover up the piece I already have on here just so that we can get our point across. Another thing I always double check is that my card's opening the way that I want it to. So now hopefully I've cut this exactly right and it'll just layer right on top like I want it to. Looks like I've got pretty close there. So, and then I also used the same ribbon and tied a little bow that's going to go right here. And to do that, I'm just going to grab a glue dot, maybe. Yep, there they are, sorry. Some of my items get moved when my children come in to craft with me. Which, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love, but sometimes I can't find my supplies afterwards. Grab a couple here. There we go. So I'll put on my fun little rickrack ribbon. And this time I made a little pennant. And it says, "How thoughtful you are." And I'm doing really good today. It looks like I inked up the corner, so I'll go ahead and just re-ink this one for you. And the stamp that I used comes from this Hero Art stamp, "How Thoughtful You Are." So we'll go ahead and grab one off. Good for me to make mistakes while I'm on camera, right? Then you can feel like you're in real life, because we're not perfect in real life, are we? Well, at least I'm not. You might be, but I'm just here having fun and showing you what I'm learning. So we'll go ahead and add this on, or what I've already learned, I should say. Tone on tone is something I use as a painting instructor. Love to paint something that's all similar shades. So we'll ink up our little "How Thoughtful You Are." Line that baby up. Using the exact same ink we used before. Slide my card back over. And then I'm going to kind of just use this as a measure here, because I want to trim off just the tiniest bit so that it fits right here. So it looks like I trimmed off just the tiniest bit. So this little piece actually measures 1/2 by 3.5, and then I'm just going to mark the center here with some scissors and cut my little tail. Now that my pennant is cut, so I'm using a slippery mat. Normally I have my mat adhered to my table so it's not going to go anywhere. And now we can stick our little pennant on. And let's kind of play with it. Where do we want it? I actually kind of like it down towards the bottom, I believe. And today I'm just going to grab some ATG gun tape to do it. That around a little bit more. And we'll just come down to the bottom here. And there we go, little pennant. So here's our blue version with our Tim Holtz Distress ink doing tone on tone, and adding just a hair darker with the ribbon I think really just makes this fun and pulls our design out. So again, there is our faded jeans, and a little tip, I always label my inks so when they're sitting on the shelf I can see exactly what I've got. So there's our faded jeans picture that we just made, and then again we did our Dusty Concord with the little rose. And we used our Fired Brick tone on tone to make this fun card. So I hope you've had fun watching and have maybe gained a little inspiration while you've been watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave me one, and thanks for watching. So this has been your first SOS moment. Thanks. Bye.